Awesome. All right. Well, it's 5:03 on June 17th, 2025. So we'll get started. Um, I initially had to do introductions down, but these are all familiar faces. If Dahlia and Hannah, who are two of the potentially incoming students from Dryden, who will potentially be joining the task force, if they join in, then I'll probably have us do a quick round of introductions just so they can also introduce themselves. Um, but to get us started, we can, I guess, first, are there any additions to today's agenda?
I didn't check whether you added that thing to the about the DEC's document and the stormwater thing.
Yes, I'll add that in. Um,
I'm sort of between a bunch of tasks, so I haven't kept up very well, but so I didn't get a chance to recheck the agenda.
yeah, I hadn't added that in what I sent out, so that's helpful. I'll make a note here.
And Jack, I would like to spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about the link that I sent to everybody earlier.
Awesome. Yeah, we have some time carved out for you, Marie, to give updates on the Repair Cafe.
Sure.
Awesome. All right, are there any edits on last month's minutes before we vote to approve those? All right, is there a motion to approve those minutes? All right, Joe.
Also move.
All right, so I saw Joe's hand and I saw Alice seconding it as well. So thank you. All right, so to kick things off, we'll start with Climate Smart Community program updates. Chris, I'm actually going to start with you because it's after 5 o'clock and I don't want to keep you on the clock longer than you need to be. So, Chris, can we start
Sorry
with
to
you
interrupt again,
Yes, yeah, please.
but we had a motion, we had a second, we didn't have a vote.
Aha,
Approve
thank
the
you.
minutes, yeah.
Yes, okay, yes, this is all new to me, so I appreciate that. So, okay, so Joe moved, Alice seconded, all in favor of approving the minutes. Awesome.
Hunter and Sawyer have to say something. Yes, aye, nay.
Yay.
Yay.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you both. Thank you all. And thank you, Gina, for the support in this. Bear with me as I navigate the first meeting in this role. All right. Okay, so Chris, we'll start with you on an update to the changing relationship with CCE around the Climate Smart Communities program.
Yeah. So Jerry is just not here because he's on vacation. That is not the news that I'm here to deliver. But so the next round of Climate Smart, first, I don't want to necessarily steal everybody's thunder, but did you all see the award? Okay. I didn't do anything on it, so it feels a little odd for me to be mentioning it, but I was working with Jerry a lot on his ends of it and all the work that you guys put in. Silver's huge. That's awesome. So just congratulations. 'Cause that's very, very cool. And then, so the new round of CSC coordinator contracts has been issued. Cornell Cooperative Extension has actually not been included in this round of CSC funding. So what that means is we will likely not be able to host CSC coordinator support in the way that we have been traditionally. We're still figuring out coverage for our region was awarded to a firm that we sometimes work with based out of Binghamton. They have a number of other counties that they are responsible for under this issuance of the contract. We're not 100% sure what that coverage plan looks like. And at CCE, on our ends, because we've been in it for so long and sort of understand some of the continuity and trying to maintain as much as we can. We're looking at a number of potential options, potential sources for maintaining some amount of that like I said, coordinator level. A shift that we are anticipating is especially not to move away from all of the certification actions, but especially speaking to you all, having achieved silver level certification in the program. The shift we're anticipating is likely moving into grant support, especially as it pertains to floodwater and climate resilience. So one of the things we want to be thinking about, and we're still kind of feeling out exactly what this might look like, is chasing funding opportunities for essentially implementing some of the things that we've worked thus far to identify, right, in the climate change adaptation resilience planning, some of the things that we've worked to document in the greenhouse gas inventories, right? So that's kind of the broad shift that we're anticipating. I cannot stress enough that Jerry is not here just because he's on vacation. He was in New Orleans this weekend. He had a great time. That's not, it's some kind of omen. So that's kind of the news. There's a lot still in flux. The only certainty that I can really provide is that Extension is likely not going to be able to provide coordinator support in the way they have to date, right? It's going to look a little different. It may end up being a little bit even scaled back. We may have to pick and choose some different focus points, right? But we're committed to figuring out how we can continue moving forward and helping y'all move this more forward. So that's where we're at. Yeah. I guess I'm happy to take any questions, although
not from you, Alice.
yeah. Any questions from anyone other than Alice? Yeah.
Joe has his hand up,
Okay.
or no? Oh, okay, I have my hand up real quick. I just wondered what the organization is in Binghamton?
So it's the Southern Tier 8
Is this Southern
regional.
Tier? No.
Yeah, Southern Tier 8
I know
Regional
them.
Planning Board.
Yeah, I know them.
They have services in a number of counties, 8 counties, stretching from about Tompkins, Tioga. They do down Delaware and then Otsego, this sort of odd swath there. They have the contract support from DEC to provide CSC services to Delaware, Shenango, Broome, Tioga, and now Tompkins County. So whereas previously CCE Tompkins held the award for Tompkins and Tioga County. So again, we're anticipating some kind of coverage gap. We don't know exactly what that might look like. We have a positive working relationship with ST8. You know, there's no sort of bad blood. It's just sometimes how these things shake out. But again, a lot of that's kind of in flux of exactly what the coverage will look like.
Right. Okay.
And it sounds like there's still, some unknowns of what the transition will look like, but just that the transition is happening to, how we're working with cooperative extension here in Tompkins County, and that we might be working with Southern Tier 8 going forward. Yeah, I saw Alice and Evan both had comments. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to ask real quickly. Jerry was working with us as our Climate Smart coordinator. Then Jen came in when you left to be CEC, Clean Energy coordinator. And I think I understood that Jerry is going back to being Clean Energy coordinator for the remainder of this year. Am I right about that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have had in rapid succession, I left my old CEC role. Jerry picked some of that up. Jen came on board. Jerry left that role. Our coordinator over Schuyler County left for a position up on campus. and then Jen has shifted and Jerry is. So a lot of moving parts. Yes, Jerry is providing a certain amount of coverage under the CEC program. I know he's been working with you all on the EV grant project. So that should likely continue.
And do we have a climate smart coordinator?
So again, right now,
That's-
technically that's Ashley Seyfried out of ST8, right? This other firm that has the
Okay.
the contract for
It's
it.
already happened. Okay. all
Yes,
right,
yeah. Again, exactly what that coverage plan will look like, we don't know yet. Because Ashley has a lot of ground to cover. And again, we're committed to figuring out what role CCE still has to play in some of this. In part because of our commitment, right? And in part because of our inertia. So we're intending to be around in the climate smart specifically. As far as clean energy community is concerned, yes, Jerry is your best point person for continued CEC, NYSERDA type stuff.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, dates, fiscal years, when did this change? When do official things happen?
Yeah. We've been talking with a while ago. Our last contract actually expired in 2024, September of 2024, with the Climate Smart program. We were able to bootstrap some stuff together to maintain that coverage. Within the last handful of months, we received the news that we wouldn't be getting the award. So that's, yeah.
And we know that currently the clean energy program is sunsetting at the end of 2025.
Well, so I get to go back to good news, and you all happen to be the first ones I get to give it to. This is, as far as I've been told, public information, although I suppose I'll find out if it isn't. Sorry, I have to find the exact language here. We have been told that the Clean Energy Fund, NYSERDA and the Clean Energy Fund do intend to re-up the program, the CEC program, with an amount of money at the end of 2026. So right now we were anticipating having CEC coverage right through the end of next year. We are now reasonably confident that the CEC program will continue at a potentially reduced funding amount after that for at least another handful of years. So that's sort of where we're at with that. But they have gotten it in and filed, and as opposed to this point last year when the last we'd heard was that it was not in the renewal proposal. So CEC looks like it will be refunded. Yeah.
Thank you. That is good, very good news.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for providing those updates on,
Sure.
Both CSC and CEC, the climate smart communities and clean energy communities. Yeah, Gina, go ahead.
Chris, I was just interested in, maybe you can't tell us this yet, but is it still going to be match free?
That I don't think they know yet. Yeah, the order came from the Public Service Commission with respect to the Clean Energy Fund was that CEC would be refunded in like sort of the way that it had been funded, likely at a lower amount. The exact details to kind of be determined. So a lot of that is sort of unknown. But I think the general structure of do the action, show the savings, get the points, get the grant will be around in some form. And again, CCE has we've got coverage for that for the Clean Energy Communities program at least through the end of next year. And since it'll be re-upped, we're hoping for after that as well.
Thanks.
Yeah,
All right,
this is great. There's a supportive audience to give my kind of state of the team.
yeah, I appreciate you taking the
So,
time
sure.
to share that with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are, of course, most welcome to stick with. Also, it's 5:20 and you're still on the clock. So if you take off, I think we'd all completely understand.
Completely understand. I probably will get going. I do see that there are some other the CEC updates on the grant. I guess if there's anything that y'all need on that front, feel free to reach out. I am covering for Jerry while again he is on vacation, having a much deserved couple of weeks away. So, but yeah, I'll take off there, and I'll see y'all.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. So I saw that Dahlia joined, so I'd love to do a round of introductions, just so we're not a bunch of talking heads on the screen. I'll kick things off. So my name's Jack Wright. I live here in the village of Dryden. This is my first meeting as the chair of the task force. So Dahlia, you might notice me kind of stumbling through pieces that I'm still learning. But yeah, I've been on the task force for I think a little over a year now. And I'll pass it over to Alice to introduce herself next.
Hi, Dahlia. Welcome. I used to be chair of the task force, and I live about 3 miles from Dryden High. And we're really always glad to have students engaged with us. So thanks. And I'll pass it to Gina.
Hi, Dahlia. Welcome. I'm Gina Cassidy, and I am a planner with the town of Dryden, and I am the coordinator of the group, which means that anything that needs official town signatures or submissions or dealing with outside agencies, I'm the sort of the liaison that officially does stuff. And I used to be a CEC coordinator a couple years ago.
And just to jump in, CEC, you'll hear us use lots of acronyms. CEC is one of the state programs that we work with. It stands for Clean Energy Communities. And we'll talk more about that, but that's one of the programs that helps guide our work related to climate change and how we work in the town. Yeah. Joe, could you introduce yourself next?
Sure, I'm Joe Wilson. I live in the Ellis Hollow part of Dryden. Long time ago, I was the principal at Ithaca High, but that was a long time ago. About the time I retired, so 15 or so years ago, I joined the group of Dryden folks who were battling fracking, and we ended up being part of the effort that got fracking banned from the state, across the state. Have stayed involved with this, and I also do some local politics. And welcome, Dahlia. Oh, I pick Marie, with whom I associated a long time ago to stop fracking.
Hi, Dahlia. Glad to see you being here. Nice to see a new face. And I also live not too far from Joe in Ellis Hollow. And at this point, I guess I'm a gardener. That's what I'll say about myself, and pass it to Anne.
Welcome, Dahlia. I live over in the near Freeville, and I'm a member of the Conservation Board of Dryden, and essentially I'm the liaison between the Conservation Board and this Climate Smart Clean Energy group. And I will pass it to, do I pass it to anybody? Who else is here?
Evan.
Evan's up next.
All right. Yes, Evan. I'm sorry. I'm looking at this little row of things and going back and forth at the top.
Yeah, that's all right, Ann. Hi, Dahlia. My name's Evan Kurtz. I've been in Dryden, I don't know, 30 odd years. My kids all graduated high school here. My wife taught in high school up until 7 years ago. Mrs. Kurtz taught reading. Um, so some of your older siblings or friends may have had her a few years back. I'm newer on the task force than Jack, but only a few months newer. So we're still getting to know it. And I'm also the vice chair. If Jack can't be here for some reason, I'll try to run the meeting. I'm involved with 3 or 4 different climate groups in the area, and with Rotary and with Habitat for Humanity and with Finger Lakes Reuse. So I got my hands in a lot of things. I also support Travis Crocker and the sustainability club in the high school. Talk with Travis a lot and help them keep going with that sort of work. And Suzanne Schuring with the gardening club. So still have some connections into the high school and the community. Welcome.
Excellent. And I take it you know Hunter and Sawyer already. Is that okay? Awesome. Yeah, and Dahlia, if you could introduce yourself and share, just a sentence or two about what kind of got you interested in sustainability work. I'd love to hear that.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Dahlia, and Mr. Crocker convinced me to join the sustainability club last year. And it was cool to, not have a yucky place to live, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here. We'll run through kind of a meeting agenda, but if you have questions or we're using abbreviations that don't make sense, feel free to jump in, and we can try to clarify. Excellent. So I sort of buried the lead. I wanted to give Chris a chance to share and then get off the clock, but the real big news is that the town of Dryden has officially received our silver certification as part of the Climate Smart Community Program. I believe that's the highest certification that currently exists in the Climate Smart Communities program, and that's fantastic news. It's really great work on the task force's back, but especially I want to give a shout out to Alice who led the task force through the silver, all the steps to get to silver. And then of course, Gina and Jerry, who's not here, who did a lot of the fun back end, data entry and all of the reporting to make sure that we actually get that certification. So, a real congratulations to the group, but also a huge thank you to Alice and Gina and Jerry for all of your work in helping us get us over the finish line of silver certification. So thank you.
So that's out there now. The press release has gone out and all of that.
No.
Well, the press release has not gone out. We have received official word that the town of Dryden has received the silver certification. However, the DEC, or the Department of Environmental Conservation, has not issued their press release.
Okay.
So they asked that we wait to kind of do any big publicity so that it can still be exciting and new once they release that information. So Alice has generously offered to write a publicity statement on kind of the work that the task force has done specifically around the silver certification that we'll be able to share out once we get the DEC's press release and go ahead on publicity.
We've got a backlog of things to put in your article now, Alice.
Yeah, we've got a lot of accomplishments to name. And when the DEC does issue that press release, we'll know the new number of communities in our state that have silver certification. Prior to this round, it was only 17. So we're in really elite company in terms of the kind of New York State incentivized climate action work. And it's really a tribute, I think, to the whole task force that we got to this place.
Alice, do they does anybody know if they have some sort of make any effort to get people together at some point with these, like this relatively small number of communities, you'd think that we might have some ideas and just want to share experiences. I don't know. I'm making things up, but just curious.
That's a great idea. Alice, did you see, I sent you an email. They wanted to ask me about our participation and I sent it to you. And
Yes,
it's
I
really-
started it.
Yeah.
We
So-
received a note from, what Gina's referring to is that we received a note from the Climate Smart program asking us, essentially, as I got into it, I saw, how much did Dryden spend? And in order to meet the high impact actions, the many high impact actions that we've accomplished in the last 6 years. And it's really hard to, just like all the other questions that come from these state incentivized programs. And the reason is that we had a combination of many, many, many volunteer hours, plus some paid staff hours from planning staff. We had a planning intern, and we also had many hours from Cornell Cooperative Extension working on these actions. And so they're asking us in that survey to estimate how many hours for each action, like way back when we passed the unified solar permit, and when we retrofitted our DPW office, and when we bought EVs. For each of those actions, how many hours went in and how much did that cost? I think those are really good questions to ask because many municipalities don't embark on these actions because it takes time, and time costs money unless you have volunteers to work on it. But I'm still.
And I've had a lot of support from, my supervisor who's let me spend a lot of time on it. But I'm sorry, Anne, I was not trying to derail your question. I was trying to link it. So I didn't do that very effectively. Sorry.
I derailed it. We'll go back to
You're all forgiven.
Well, I think that's a really great idea, Anne. And I think there was some effort with just in the county, the TCOG, the Tompkins County Council of Government. Is that what it is? Sort of a meeting between a bunch of the municipal staff. I know there were some efforts from the cooperative extension to try to bring kind of sustainability minded folks together to have those conversations. So even if it's not, I think it would be amazing to do if we can connect with those communities statewide. And we might also be able to do that at a local level, perhaps with, Montour Falls, I know is, we work with some already, but they're also, I believe, silver certification. So it would be great to kind of make those connections and learn from one another.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sort of thing that, you can think of all those hours, which probably occur to a lot of people before it occurs to how much might be done by volunteers or how much good feelings might come out of it and how empowered people might feel. It's a two-way street. And I wonder if there's a way in which it would encourage more communities to at least jump in and try for something.
Yeah. I'll make a note of that because I think it's a really great idea. All right. Next on our agenda, we have some updates on the Repair Cafe that's currently scheduled for this fall. So Marie, I'll pass it over to you to kind of share how planning is going. Yeah.
Okay. First, I think I'll address the web page that I sent out to people today, because I went to Groton Library to talk with them about their bike repair person. And while I was there, I was shown this monolith that they have installed out in front of the library, which is a bike repair stand. I don't know what words to use to. It's about 5 feet tall, and there are bike tools there that people can use. Part of it is you can put your bike up on it so you can work on your bike. There's a big air pump along with it. And I said, wow, wouldn't this be great to put in Dryden somewhere? I don't know if this might be better filed under the rail trail, you know, with bikers and things, but it's a fantastic thing that they've done over there. And people apparently use it a lot, stop by, and it doesn't require anything from the librarian people. So I bring this, you know, idea and kind of throw it out there on the table. If anybody, I think it's really fabulous, but anyhow.
Marie, do you have an idea of what one costs?
I asked and I was told that it cost about $2,000. And the town of Groton put it in. They've just got a small cement pad there off of the sidewalk, and it's bolted to the cement pad. The tools hang from a braided cable, metal cable, so they're not easy to steal. And wow, there it is. So anyhow, so yes, I had my reason for going over to Groton was because I knew that they were starting this project of having somebody come in and work on bikes every once in a while. So I wanted to know who was doing that, so that maybe I could steal some ideas or names for our repair cafe. But I really feel like I've made a lot of progress. I have spoken with Lauren, who has said that he will put together a web page on the town website for us. And I have spoken with Trevor, Evan, what's Trevor's last name? Who has said that he would be just fine going out and asking local merchants or whatever for, you know, donations of food or small repair parts or that sort of thing. Yay. And yesterday I spoke with Kathy Wakeman, who just fell in love with this idea, and she will do the publicity. Yes, I was so excited. And she's all set up with that. She has all of the media stuff on her computer and just waiting for me to give her the go. And that's really exciting for me because I hate doing publicity. So I feel I'm starting to collect some names for people who will be fixers on October 4th when we get there. I still feel like the whole field is open as to what categories people will be working in to fix things. And maybe I'll stop there and let people ask me questions.
Yeah.
Evan.
Yeah, I'm meeting with Diane Cohen, the Finger Lakes Reuse, on Monday, and that's one of the things I'll be talking with Diane about is if they want to engage or support that this event in any way.
Okay.
Finger Lakes Reuse.
Is there a way I could be a fly on the wall? Can I come with you?
I'm gonna say no, because there's a lot of other things we discussed, different
Okay.
aspects of Finger Lakes. But I'll certainly brief you as soon as we've talked about possibilities. I can't, there's Andrew, he's got some weird last name, Bohemia Zane or something like that. He's their deconstruction person now, but he's also interested in the community, the repair cafe stuff. So I'll see if Diane wants Andrew to head that up, or where they might want to go with it. But they have a lot of parts. That's what I'm thinking, especially, lamps and electronics, electrical stuff.
Yep.
We could get a lot of parts from them, hopefully. Yeah, and
Great.
participation.
Mhm.
Great.
And if they are, interested and able to support, I think that would be a great meeting to set up for, I know we talked about a little bit of a subcommittee of folks that are working on the repair cafe. So if Diane's amenable to it, then I think that'd be
Yeah.
great to set up a meeting with, Evan and Marie and anyone else who would like to be involved to kind of talk more about what that collaboration could look like.
Yeah. And
Sure.
just general information, they're seriously looking at a satellite operation in Dryden. They have been off and on for several years, but it's come back up again, and there's some possible options for them. So sometime in the next year, we might have Finger Lakes reuse here in Dryden.
Oh, I just thought about that today, Evan. We applied for a grant
Yep.
on that behalf.
Yep.
Did they receive any word on the grant yet?
A week and a half, they were told it moved to the next level.
Okay.
That's with Ray. Ray Berger, right, is working with Diane, I think.
Ray
Mhm.
did not tell me that. I'm gonna have a talk with him tomorrow.
I wasn't sure how that relationship was, if that was as a private citizen Ray or as a town Ray.
He probably just forgot because there's a lot of stuff going on.
Okay.
Well, that's really great to hear. It sounds like there's a lot of pieces coming together for the repair cafe. I have a comment and then a question. The comment is for bike repairs. I know that Bike Walk Tompkins, they do sort of a pop-up bike repair shop. They might be a great partner to engage to see if they would be willing to have folks, someone come out to, like we could think, longer term about the kind of pedestal with all the bike repair stuff. But for, this fall, if they're able to come out with their tools and expertise, I think that would be a really great, offering for us to have.
Yep.
And then my question, I guess for you specifically, Marie, I know that you have really spearheaded this effort on coordinating the repair cafe. And there are some other folks, including Alice and Christina and Evan, who are all interested in helping. So how might those folks kind of plug in to support the repair cafe coming together?
Good question. I don't think I have an answer for you right now, but I'll hold on to the question and get back to you on that.
Okay.
Before we leave the topic, the next big thing on my list is to register us, pay our dues, I don't know what they call it, with the international group that supports Repair Cafe. And we have to pay our dues to them in order to use the words Repair Cafe in our publicity. And I've been a little stuck on that just because I'm not used to filling out forms for Town of Dryden. But it sounds, Gina, like you might help me with that. Or last night when I talked with Kathy Wakeman, she said, "Oh, I could do that."
I'm fine filling out forms. I'm a bureaucrat. Bring them on. But if you want Kathy Wakeman to help you, that's fine.
No,
too.
no. Yeah, that would be great. One of the things when I went to talk to Amanda, the bookkeeper, she said one of the things that I should do is make sure that that the support for spending that money appears in the minutes of this task force, so that Amanda can go pull the minutes and say, here's the documentation that Marie had permission from the task force to go ahead with that. So I'm going to ask that happen today. Okaying spending, it's about $50, it's 49 euros. I don't know what that translates to.
But Marie,
and-
that's not all you're gonna spend. You need to spend some more money on parts and things too, right?
True, but right now, this is the,
Want to just allocate like a larger amount that you think it might cost you for the whole thing, or you think that's not a good idea?
I think simply saying that the group gives its permission to pay those dues to the international organization.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and I think that Gina makes a good point of if maybe we can say, you know, up to $200, because the task force has funding. Is it from the town for our efforts? Yeah, and I believe it's $1,000 or so that we have allocated. So is there a motion for spending, let's say, up to $200 to cover the registration fees, as well as any beginning supplies to organize the repair cafe? See Joe raised his hand. Is there a second?
Hunter had his hand up earlier. Did he want to say
Okay.
something before the vote?
Yeah, I wanted to recognize Hunter.
Okay, yes, yeah, we'll pause it. Hunter, sorry, go ahead.
Hunter, you're muted. Hello. Can't hear you.
So maybe Hunter, once you're back, we'll come back to you.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, sorry. Apparently the internet does not want to work today. So I'm gonna go back to Alice's chat where she said our student reps. So Marie, we brought this up to the Sustainability Club last Tuesday at our final meeting, and many of us were very open to helping out. We're not quite sure where we would help out yet. But if like you need volunteers, I know one thing you suggested is having like volunteers just kind of like welcome people, take them to where they need to within this repair cafe. And I think that is something that the Sustainability Club would totally be willing to do.
Great.
So because I won't be home by the time I'll be off at college when you guys are like
Hey.
fully on board with this, because you said October was kind of your idea date. So I will put you in touch with Mr. Crocker and Miss Taylor, the advisors, and then we have Dahlia here tonight, and then Hannah, who's another who will hopefully be taking over for Sawyer and I. So that way we can like keep the communication going, because I personally think it's a great idea. There was a lot of interest for the Sustainability Club. So once you kind of figure out where you might need us, we are totally on board.
Great. Thank you so much, Hunter.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of an action that we can take is think about ways that the Sustainability Club can plug in, once school's back in session this fall, support with the repair cafe.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Hunter.
Yeah. Back to Joe made a resolution. Was there a second?
I see Ann seconds, all in favor. Did you get some indication from Sawyer and Hunter? Awesome. Thank you, Sawyer.
Great.
and Hunter. Excellent. All right, so up to $200. Hopefully that can get us rolling.
That's a start. Thank you.
Wonderful. Are there any
Joe?
is your hand raised still as part of the motion, or do you have an additional thought?
No, I can't get my hand down.
Okay, I think I can help you with that. There we go.
Thank you.
Are there any additional thoughts on the Repair Cafe before we shift gears?
Just real quick, could you remind me, I think there was a talk about some things that we shouldn't trying to repair. And I'm just trying to remember what those were, because I think it's probably wise that we all keep our ears out for people who are really good at repairing some certain things and might volunteer. Like, what about computers or so that's okay. And I don't know about toasters, and somebody's going to get electrocuted, but okay.
Well,
So
and
The field is really open at this point.
Anne had brought up the idea in a previous meeting about for the students, if they had some particular skill at some kind of repair, that they might get like an endorsement from a teacher saying that they were well trained to do some kind of particular repair.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point though, and I think it might be, and this might be something that's in the book, Marie, that you're purchasing, but a list of things that we won't repair just out of safety. I can imagine anything that's hazardous or requires a special
Chemicals or, no.
yeah. Having some list that we can refer to, saying, oh, we can't help you with that one.
Okay, I will get that put together and send it out.
Thanks. Yeah, so
Sawyer.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't know, a couple BOCES classes kind of like work on repairing stuff, and that could be something that they're interested in. I'm not really in contact with that kind of thing, but yeah, I think they have a construction class and then like a mechanic class, and those might be two things that are interested. So I don't know.
Great,
Put up
thank
there.
you. Yeah.
I've in my professional role, I've worked with the construction trades teacher at TST BOCES, so I can reach out to them and see if that's something they might be interested in collaborating on. That's a really great idea. Thank you for sharing that, Sweater.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. I'm so excited about the Repair Cafe. I imagine we could spend probably a meeting or two just talking about the Repair Cafe, but for the sake of time, we're going to shift gears. And I wanted to carve out just a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so, for you to speak on the stormwater resource and discussion that you were at earlier today.
Yeah, so I'm also a liaison to the Owasco Lake Watershed Management Council. I'm one of the board of directors from Dryden, and I sort of stand in for Dave Sprout, I guess, originally. But in any case, I try my best to go. I will say that I attend by Zoom, and therefore I often have a hard time understanding everything that's going on in this small room where they don't necessarily stay close to the microphone. But we had a cool presentation today from someone whose name I can real quick look up from the DEC, who was giving a presentation that I thought we should all know about. Is that there's a new issue, it actually came out last year, for stormwater management recommendations. Basically, it's a stormwater management document from the DEC. It's at their site, and I downloaded a copy, and it's just very comprehensive. And so if we feel like this is one of the things that, from a sustainability point of view and from a climate resilience particularly point of view, that we want to keep our eyes on, because it's the gamut. What they had a nice diagram, sort of there's an engineering aspect and there's a landscape specialist aspects, and you need both of them. He showed some pictures of a great way to manage water that was great from an engineering perspective. And it was this field of heavy duty gravel, you know, in a low spot that was just great. And there were like 3 struggling plants going, what did you do? Anyway, and so the clear message was, you know, we want these things to be ecologically and visually and from a natural, you know, surround point of view, really successful, as well as managing the water. So it's this getting this nice combination. And they actually make reference in the document to measurements of how well something is doing in reference to how it would be before it was developed. So the idea is, you know, if you're going to put in a new wetland area, is it holding water and cushioning the flow as well as it would have been before somebody put a ring of houses up here, that kind of thing. And it's really nice because it breaks things down into what you have to do. You know, what you're really, if you're going to put in a house and it's going to be more than a 5-acre area that you're going to disturb, you know, you're supposed to go through certain steps. If it's very small, you probably don't have to tell anybody about it. If it's an agricultural, there's a new cow barn just going up the road from me, and they've taken out an entire woods. I suspect they had to, I hope that they, you know, told the township about it, because it's a matter of, and DEC, because it's certainly going to create a watershed issue. So anyway, it's a fascinating document and very comprehensive, going all the way from, you know, what you have to do legally, the kinds of measurements that are made, what you need to do from a point of view of what you're really trying to control, what you don't have to control but would be nice to control, and plantings. And they don't anymore put in specific planting recommendations. They have sort of objectives of the plantings, because New York State is so big and diverse that if you put, you know, a plant in Long Island is not the same plant as you want up near Rochester. Anyway, so it's, as I say, it's cool reading. It's really nicely laid out. And maybe we could, you know, if we got really interested, we could probably ask the DEC maybe to send another rep to talk to us about it. But it's all new and updated. And if anybody wants me to actually just send them a copy to save you going to the DEC site, I'll be happy to share it.
Yes.
If you could
Okay.
maybe share that with just the email group, I think that would be great.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I recall from as part of the Climate Smart Communities program, the CCARP, the Climate Change Adaptation and Resiliency Plan, including that workshop that we did. I think one of the major climate threats for the town of Dryden is flooding, right? And with, you know, as climate change progresses, we'll have, you know, more extreme weather events with more rain in a shorter time frame. So stormwater management and water management in general will be really important as a consideration for us thinking about climate for the town of Dryden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we really got it this May. They gave us one detail that didn't come out right there, but Owasco Lake was 4 feet in May, got to 4 feet above, somewhere between 3 and 4 feet, just basically held above its normal conditions. They got up in Auburn 6.84 inches this May.
Wow.
And you start to think about what our annual inches are, and it's like, this does not make sense.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Anne. Joe, do you have something to add?
Yeah, some of us were at a meeting a Saturday ago or 2 Saturdays ago, and we learned that Ann Rhodes at CEC is seeming to be doing exactly what that plan was designed to do. And it struck us that Ann and Jack or whoever has custody of that plan ought to share it with Ann. Might save her reinventing the wheel.
Absolutely. I work closely with Anne, so I'd be happy to share that with her.
Yeah, well, we all talked about the fact that this plan existed and Ann ought to know about it, but I'm not quite sure that Ann still knows about it or yet knows about it.
You sort of have
doesn't
to know
everybody-
what you're looking for to find it on the website too.
Yeah.
I got onto several dead ends.
Doesn't everybody work closely with Ann? She's every place.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, I want to keep us moving, but thank you for sharing that, Anne.
Sure.
So a quick update on the Clean Energy Communities program. The town received their Chevy Equinox EV for the code officers, which was one of the vehicles purchased with this Clean Energy Communities funding. So we now have 3 of the 4 EVs kind of in the town's possession. We're still waiting on the cargo van, which will hopefully come at some point. But it's very exciting that the EVs are arriving. I have a note here about an update on the EV charging station for the DPW. Alice, is that something you're able to provide a quick update on?
Yes, we've had funding for a second EV charging station since last year. Finally, it sounds like they have everything they need to seek bids for that. So I just talked with the secretary at DPW last week, and it looks like we're lining up to get that second EV charging station installed at DPW now. Took a while. Thank you, Jack, for starting out the research on that, and Gina also for helping find some vendors for us to seek bids from. And it looks like.
Oh, that was Jerry, wasn't me, so I don't take credit for it.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. In absentia, we're finally moving forward on that.
Excellent. My hope is that with the EVs actually being here, the need for the EV charger is sort of a natural, there's some natural momentum there.
Jack and Alice and I got to ride in the EV the other day in the Equinox.
It's a cool, the Chevy Equinox. It's a cool car.
It's very strange how when you take your foot off the gas, it stops. That's something to get used to.
Excellent. So that's what I have for the Clean Energy Community Program updates. A couple of quick things here. One is we had a poster at Dryden Dairy Day. I know that many folks were involved with Dairy Day in capacities outside of their task force role. But the Youth Commission was kind enough to offer to host a poster of ours. So I'll put it in the chat here so that you can view it as well. This is just a little Canva flyer that talks about what the task force has achieved to date, both in terms of the funding that we've brought in through some of these state programs, as well as the actual measures that we've done. This is something that Cassie Burns with the town is going to put in on our webpage for the task force, and this will also be going out in the town newsletter. So it'll be great to continue to kind of share the work that we're doing. I think that if you didn't know to look for the amount of funding and great work that this task force is doing, it could be easy to miss. So I encourage you all, if you see opportunities for us to plug the work that we're doing, and also continue to educate folks about climate work, and recruit members to the task force, please feel free to use this flyer, or we can work on other materials as well to get the word out. So a couple meetings ago, we had a conversation about sort of the mission of the task force, and we realized that we didn't really have anything concrete written for bylaws or mission for specifically the climate task force, and especially as some of the foundational programs that the task force has historically worked with, such as the Clean Energy Communities Program and Climate Smart Communities Program, as those change and wrap up and evolve, I think it's a great time for us to reflect and kind of pull together something, without fully dedicating, the next year's worth of task force meetings to coming up with a mission statement. I think we can take some time together to get some of this in writing that we can refer back to as needed. So my wonder and a bit of a request is, I wonder what you all might think of spending our next meeting in July, really focused on trying to hammer out, a mission, potentially working off of some suggestions from folks who might feel excited about doing some of this work before that next task force meeting. So I guess just to start, what would you all think of maybe spending a good chunk of our July meeting focused on pulling together, our mission and any important bylaws for the group?
Be good with that.
Yeah. I personally think that kind of meeting really needs to be in person. The dynamics are enough different. We could have a chalkboard, whatever, something to take notes on, just a little more engaged.
Yeah.
Funny
I
you
think-
should say that.
Which, yes, when Alice and Gina and I were talking about this, we're like, let's do it in person. That'll be great. And I was looking at my calendar like 20 minutes before our meeting started, and I said, shoot, I'm gonna be on vacation then. So we can either the task force can meet kind of in person, and I can zoom in, or we could plan for we could do this in 2 meetings from now and do it all together in person in August, if that's.
Or move our date.
Yeah, Joe.
I wonder if it makes sense for the proponents of the bylaws to send some samples of what they think might apply so that we're not starting from scratch and cold whenever the meeting does occur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. I have in my notes here that Evan and Anne, and please correct me if I have this wrong, that you were both willing to put some time into maybe drafting what some of the bylaws or the mission might be. Would the two of you be willing to do some of that pre-work ahead of our August meeting?
Yep, it's August, yes, I'm pretty tied up until mid July, but after that, I think I've got a little time.
Okay, excellent. So thank you both for being willing to do that. Are there any other folks that are interested in joining in on that pre-work ahead of the August meeting?
It's loads of fun.
And Anne and Evan, I'm if you would like my assistance, I'd be happy to plug in and support as well. Excellent. I'll plan to do that then. So we'll plan for, rather than our July meeting, to do our August meeting in person at the town hall, and we can hammer out those details then, with having maybe some of that pre-work set, and we can share that ahead of time to make things a little bit easier. Excellent. Are there any thoughts or questions on kind of this concept of pulling together mission statement and bylaws for the task force before we move to the next agenda item?
I would welcome suggestions from people, other organizations, or completely different, townships or districts or countries, whose mission is similar to what we're probably wanting to do, just for ideas of things to incorporate or not to incorporate. I mean, just, maybe just wing them to Evan and I. Or tell us where to look.
That brings up for me the fact that Montour Falls, mentioned earlier, seems to have a wonderful sustainability group. So I wonder if they have some rules, regulations, bylaws, whatever.
Yeah, and they've got a good website, so presumably we'll
Yes.
be able to find somebody there that we could contact.
Yep.
And I think actually that our town's conservation board has a sort of 2-page mission and bylaws. Is that something you're familiar with, Anne?
I found out, I mean, a little bit about it. I don't think it deviates much from what we it's sort of pro forma rather than it doesn't have a lot of, I don't know, sort of up to date current. I mean, we're going to need to be looking a little bit ahead from where we are, I think. And from what I could tell, not much thought had been put into, you know, it was sort of like it covers this, but I think there's also some typical conservation board purview. And I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I learned, and that's why I didn't, you know, have anything exciting to bring in terms of ideas. So I think they need to think about it at some point. And we actually had a moment in which we talked a little bit about that and said, yeah, we should think about what we should, you know, pinpoint as the things we want to work on, we see as our deal.
Alice has her hand up.
I was just wondering if there's anything, I don't know this after all these years, if there's anything in the climate smart guidelines or resources along these lines. We were required to have a town climate smart coordinator and the town, you know, some committee, some task force that oversees the work of these state incentive programs. And maybe they have some information online right in the climate smart guidelines. I've never looked for it, but Joe.
Along those lines, the town board had to craft a resolution to get both of the groups, or to get a task force started and authorized by the state. So the resolution may actually encompass what our mission is. And the other thought I offer with a smile is the quintessential mission statement was one crafted at Pepsi-Cola. It was beat Coke.
I wrote the resolution, and I will send it to you guys. I'll find it and send it to you guys.
Yeah. Well, there's two aspects to all this. One is just the structural, how do we process, you know, we have a coordinator, we have a vice chair, all that stuff. So that's fairly boilerplate. And then the other part is, you know, what are we going to do? And that's really more what we want to focus on in August. And we can boilerplate the rest pretty easily beforehand even. It's just how do meetings run, you know, that sort of thing. So we'll get there.
That would be great. And I wonder if, I don't know if there's any kind of town specific language or requirements that we can pull from, but maybe I can reach out to Christina unless someone else knows, you know, a more direct route to see if she has any advice on that. Okay. I'll plan to reach out to her and I can loop you both in, Evan and Anne.
One other simple thing occurs to me because it came up today. There are simplified Robert's Rules of Order, which collapse and then wieldy document. But the one thing that struck me when we were talking earlier, standard procedure is to, if you're going to make a motion, you make the motion and second it, and then you discuss it. You don't discuss it in the middle, or you don't discuss it before you make the motion. So you might want to consider having that rule.
Yeah, it always ends up in a sort of midway. There's a little discussion just to get it onto the table. And it's always hard to know, in my experience, there's a moment at which, you know, you can either continue the discussion or you can really decide to go for it and thoroughly, where you know you have something to do about it. But I mean, I agree. I think that's often useful to reserve some of the discussion after you've sort of agreed that it's worth discussing.
Excellent. Well, in the interest of time, I want to make sure we're wrapped up by 6:30. I'd like to shift gears to updates from our different collaborators. So to start things off, Hunter and Sawyer, I'd love to hear an update on how the Sustainability Club is going and what y'all are working on.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, sir, I can talk a little bit first. So is Dahlia still on? Yes, right. Yeah, okay. So Dahlia, this is what we do, just to kind of give an idea. So we just give a little report. So for the Sustainability Club, we had our last school year meeting Tuesday, as I mentioned earlier. We talked about the Repair Cafe. That went really well. Some other things we addressed. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Finger Lakes Beekeepers, but Nancy Munkenbeck, she reached out to Miss Taylor, our advisor, and was wondering if any of the club members were interested in helping with honey harvest or just interested in learning about beekeeping in general. So she provided an email to us. We had, I think, 3 people that I talked to, who are members of the club that said they were gonna reach out to her and they were interested. So that's kind of cool. And then another thing is we just finished our, oh, sorry, the clock is going off. Finished, I guess, the first step of our part of our pathway, I should say, because we have it all planted. It's just has to be watered. We have a little mulch walkway at the very bottom of it next to our stadium. So it's looking good. It's growing. I was out there the other day and I watered it. So that's really exciting to kind of have that done in a say where we can kind of take a step back and just watch it grow happily. And then I will pass it off to Sawyer.
So we've been working with Jack, Cornell Cooperative Extension to kind of do a community solar. So like sign up people that are interested in community solar. And one of our goals was to sign up 10 people. So prior to Dairy Day, we signed up 10 people, which is great. And it's just no commitment, just people that are interested in. And then, you know, during Dairy Day, we had a couple more people sign up. So that's exciting. And that's about all for that. And if Jack, if you want to, Jack went, but yeah, I think there's a grant that goes along with signing up 10 people. I'm blanking on the amount, but you know, anything is appreciated. So excited about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so this is a project through Cooperative Extension that we're doing where clubs can earn funding. It's up to $1,275 through this project. Basically learning about community subscription solar, talking to 10 households about it, which it sounds like the Dryden Club has done. And then the goal is to get up to 5 households actually, you know, going through with the sign up for community subscription solar. And for each of those steps, there's funding attached. So with the talking to 10 folks, I think it's $200. I guess I spoke briefly with Travis and Karen, and they are interested in kind of continuing this project over the summer. So it's great to hear that there's good progress happening on it. So thank you for that update, Sawyer. Yeah, Evan, go ahead.
Hi, Sawyer, you mentioned being at Dairy Days. Could you guys, one or the other, you tell us a little bit more about what you guys did at Dairy Days and how that went?
Yeah, so I was at the booth we had a split booth with Garden Club like we did last year. And they had the plant sale going on. which is always really nice because that kind of draws in people. Because I think sometimes when you just have a table full of information, you're not going to get a ton of people. So having the garden club always draws in some people. Excuse me. And so I was there. I talked to 3 people I know of. One of them who signed, I don't know if any of you know Tim Woods. He was in the parade. He signed up on the interest forum. He said that he was really interested about learning even more. And he took a flyer. So we had like print out flyers with the QR code that brings you to the Cornell Cooperative Extension subscription solar information. So we took one of those. I had a few people come over and just kind of grab one and walk away without me being able to catch them in conversation. And then we also shared information about our pollinator pathway. We had a little flyer out for that, and we had the seed packets that we used to plant our garden. And then our last little bit of information that we had at our table was a nice pamphlet done by one of our members, Swansea, talking about some of the projects we've done in the past, so the metal utensils, and then also like the summits we go to. So we had a little information about the summit we went to at ESF, which was really interesting. And it's a great way to have a lot of the youth that are going through the Dairy Day just kind of looking around, see that this is an option for a club. And so I know I talked to one person who will be a senior next year, and I'm pretty sure I convinced her to join the club in the fall. So Dahlia, if you see Raina around next year and she's not in Sustainability Club, tell her to go to Sustainability Club meetings because she was one that I talked to. So it's just it's a good way to get information out there too, show that we're a pretty cool club to be part of.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Gina, I think you had your hand raised earlier. Did you have a comment?
Oh, I was just gonna ask if you had any yard signs for community solar. I'd be happy to post one.
Thank you. We don't currently, but that's a good idea. Something to think about. Thank you. I guess one other question for Hunter and Sawyer. I recall that at a previous meeting you had talked about maybe purchasing some of the plants from the garden club for your pollinator patch, and I'm curious to hear if that's something that you all are thinking of proceeding with.
So we ended up not needing to, which was great. We ended up getting more donations, seed wise, which was wonderful. I'm trying to think of remember his name. One of Miss Taylor's friends from, I believe it was Groton, he gave us some milkweed pods to plant too, which was another great way that we kind of got those seeds that we needed. So we ended up not having to. But I definitely think if we want to expand the garden, which I hope that the Sustainability Club does that in the future, that maybe we can work with the garden club. I mean, we have definitely, there's a lot of crossover between the members and stuff, so that kind of helps us have a tighter relationship with garden club. So I could definitely see it happening in the future, but this time we didn't need to.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that update. Christina had emailed me her update for the Dryden Town Board. She wasn't able to join tonight. Her update is that there are 3 new employees with the town. There's Matthew, and I'm going to get pronunciations wrong, so I apologize. Matthew Branneman, who's a part-time code enforcement officer. Braden Will, who's a full-time code enforcement officer, as well as Matthew Kinsey, a part-time accounting assistant for Dryden Fiber. So that's the update from the town. She'll be sharing out a committee update to the town board on Thursday. So I'll work on getting some updates to her, but if there's anything else that you all have in mind that we haven't talked about in this meeting, please let me know and we can try to get that included in the update to the town. I'm going to pass it over to Anne for an update on the Conservation Board.
There's not a whole lot to transmit. We did talk briefly about whether or not the Conservation Board's bylaws were sufficiently interesting and mission oriented, and most people thought that we'd been sort of handed them as, you know, typical Conservation Board purview. We also talked, just to keep you up on it, I think the Bob Beck Memorial planting at the Von Engelen Preserve has made headway, and you can now, I may have reported this last time, but you can now donate to that if you send a check to the town and just put on very clearly on there that it's for the Bob Beck Memorial. And so there's going to be 3 or 4 trees, and trying to remember which, and we've at least got 1 understory bush, and then we're going to have some sort of, it's not yet, if anybody knows anybody who makes lovely little plaques or something like that, that would be great. But we're definitely know enough about the sort of plaque that we could put in that we have an estimate. It's going to be several $1,000s. So we figured if we got up to 2,000, we would cover the plaques and the trees. The trees are not going to be little tiny trees. These are not little sapling trees, you know, where you have to put wire all over to keep the rabbits from eating them. These are going to be good sized trees. And Jean, who's a forester for Ithaca, she knows where to get them because she gets them for Ithaca. And so those look like they'll be a nice addition. And there's a little bit more site work to know exactly where they're going to be located. But I mean, we already looked, Gwen and Jean and I looked, and pretty much it's fairly obvious. And we'll do a little bit of control of invasives too. There's an invasive rose bush there. Anyway, so, you know, talk it up as the rail trail and things like that come up. Say, okay, well, you could contribute to a memorial. And all you got to do is send a check in. We're like public radio. Nothing is too small.
Do you have anything in writing that I could just send directly to the Rail Trail Task Force, Anne?
Yeah, I think they've actually been alerted. I mean, I think it's we've got it up on the website. We have it on our page on the website, I believe. But I will, if you give me a moment, I've got Aunt just went over my computer. That's why the distraction there. I have a piece that Jean wrote, and I can forward it to you.
Thank you.
All right.
And I wonder if that might be something that can go out in the town newsletter as well, just to, you know, continue getting the word out. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, the Conservation Board we put it up last month.
Okay,
So it should be up there for the Conservation Board's contribution.
Great. I'm glad to hear it.
And that's Jean Grace, who's the forester and at this moment major force in this.
Thank you for that update, Anne. Gina, are there any task force related updates for the, I guess, climate task force updates from the Affordable Housing Task Force or Planning Board?
I don't really think so, but I can just briefly tell you what's going on. We apparently advanced to a second round of a reuse grant. News to me, did not know that. And we increased the size of our planning department by 50%. We have 2 new code officers. So two of those 3 new folks are in planning. They're zoning, building code officers, but one is only part-time. But they seem very enthusiastic. you know, very cooperative, and I think it's going to be a nice fit. Braden and Matthew. Let's see. I am sending everybody the projects that are being posted so that if you want to weigh in on anything, and I think that all of you have like special points of view that you can bring to any of these projects that may be overlooked. And I would really love to be able to have your viewpoints represented. And Joe, you would be amazed to find out that I've suggested that we add that projects, the applicants have to put in a sidewalk whenever the town has adjacent sidewalk to that property as a standard condition of approval. So that because they've not been enforcing it like as you go along. But if they have that because they say, well, it's a sidewalk to nowhere, which we know is not future looking and it's going to cost the town a lot of money in the future if we have to pay for all that. So if we put it in standard conditions of approval, so that when the sidewalks come to their property, they have to put in, whomever is the current owner has to put in the sidewalks. So we're trying to get that put into the standard conditions. I don't know if it's going to be on town board agenda this week. We have to get the lawyer to look it over, and I don't know that he's commented on it yet, but I thought you'd be excited. I'm very excited to put that forward.
Very clever to get them there instead of the usual debate where people do a taco. You know what taco is? Trump always caves in, or caves, whatever it is.
Town always caves in.
The planning board always caves in.
Yeah. So and I think if the planning board doesn't have to deliver bad news, they'll feel like good guys, like, well, that's just standard conditions, and ask the planning department about that.
All right.
Yeah.
More walkable towns. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know how often you folks go through Varna, but I see kids biking. I see people with their babies. I see old couples all using that sidewalk. And I think it's really been a great enhancement to life in Varna. And I would love to see it more around town.
That was Jim Scaly. Having lived through, the planning board guys are always nice guys and give up on the sidewalk. So hooray for Jim.
Yeah, he did something really great for the town.
I'd like to just add something about Varna that I learned over the weekend. Thank you, Dairy Days, again for networking. Some folks may remember that Chuck Geisler served on our task force, and he moved on to concentrating on mobile home parks as affordable housing. I just learned over the weekend that the Hillside Acres Mobile Home Park is for sale, has been placed on sale by Jim Ray, the owner. And that leads to a danger that it will be purchased. The 200 families or so who currently live there could be evicted potentially after a 2-year notice. And there could be, more expensive housing. That's proximity to Cornell makes that very tempting for potential developers as a site. So I have connected some of the residents with Martha Robertson and Chuck from the Affordable Housing Task Force to look at the possibility of resident-owned cooperatives for that. It's a pie in the sky in a certain way, very challenging thing to achieve. But we have talked on this task force in the past about the danger of losing affordable housing. And apparently that moment is before us. It's been not well publicized that it's for sale, but it is a matter of public record that it is offered for sale. So when you're talking about Varna and sidewalks, that just reminded me that we have paid attention to affordable housing, energy efficient affordable housing in mobile home parks, and this is a development we should keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Alice. Yeah, I think we should
So at the intersection of housing and planning, the housing group has initiated applying for a grant for housing infrastructure, housing infrastructure grant. And so there's a parcel by NYSEG, it's like a 100-acre parcel, that over the years has been dangled sort of in front of the town, like, well, we might give this to you, we might sell it to you, we're not sure. At any rate, this grant would fund a study for affordable housing for that space. I mean, it's 100 acres, but there's 50 acres of wetlands, so it's not as, not as huge as it seems. But anyway, we're working on, we probably should submit that grant probably by next week. And also housing is very active, especially Martha, in getting, affordable housing up front and center on the zoning, what they're calling the zoning advisory group agenda, which is the people who are coming together with the planning board members to rewrite the zoning with the help of a consultant. But yeah, Martha is really sticking up for making affordable housing a priority with the rewrite.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for that update. So we're a couple minutes past 6:30. Are there any last thoughts before we wrap up for today? All
My
right.
last thought is great job, Jack. Thank you for leading us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks
Same
for
to you,
thanks for the
Jack.
patience as I navigate this and figure out Robert's rules and all that. Great. Well, our next meeting will be July 15th, 5 p.m. We'll do that one virtually. And we'll send information out about that as it approaches. But thank you all for your time and energy and commitment to the task force. And Hunter and Sawyer, I hope you are so close to summer break. So I hope I hope time flies so that you can get to summer break as soon as possible.
Oh, and congratulations on your graduation.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck next fall.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.